Welcome, everybody. Today is November 29th. This is the Wednesday CALPADS Q A. My name is Alex Mendriguez. I'm a data analyst at CSIS supporting CALPADS, and driving for us today is Gary Gerber. And we're going to start off. We move on to announcements now. The initial deadline is on the 15th of December, which is just 2 weeks away. It's kind of crazy, but it's just 2 weeks, people. So please make sure that you are working diligently to get those fatal errors cleared out. Ideally, you would be at 0 errors by now so that you can have these 2 weeks to send off reports to your SMEs at your district to make sure that any changes that are needed are addressed in a timely manner. Again, we only need LEA approval for this initial deadline. But SELPA approval is recommended. The other announcement we had is that fall 2 training announcements. A message should be coming out sometime this week, so keep an eye out for that. And other than that, I just hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving break and ate a lot of delicious food. Angela, Martha, or anybody from CDE, if you have any announcements.
Just wanted to mention we didn't have our usual Tuesday deployment yesterday because last week was a short week, and so we didn't have enough time to include everything that we wanted. So our next deployment is December 5th.
I have nothing, Alex.
All right. So we're going to jump into questions. Skipping over the AI. All right, starting off with Eugenie. Q1 says, I want to make sure if I heard correctly from Monday's Q&A, are the monitoring reports, formerly 16.7, 16.8, going to be available soon? And I believe that those are scheduled for next week.
One set is on the 5th, and then the next round is the 12th, December 12th. What were you to say, Martha?
The report number, does it stay the same?
No. 16.20 and 21, I think.
Do you want me to jump in here?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I forgot you were here, Meredith.
I was wondering if you were going to.
Sorry, I was answering a different question in a different thread, so I apologize. But yes, the new monitoring reports will be 16.21 will be the student list. So that is what's going to be worked on first, and that is going to be your overdue plan reviews and overdue reevaluations. So right now they are slated for going into production on the 12th. So hopefully, I know that's a little bit later than expected, but I'm hopeful that it'll get in by the 12th.
The 12th of December or the 12th of January?
December.
Oh, okay.
So the developer is currently working on them. So that's the student list. First, they'll work on the student list, then to go to the counts. So student list is getting worked on right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that's Meredith, folks. That she's from the requirements. She's in the back end. We don't usually get to see her, so special treat today. All right, moving on to Alejandra from Madera Unified. Q1, do you happen to know what information is gathered from CALPADS and the Child Welfare Services information system to match the students in foster care? I don't know what it matches on off the top of my head.
Alex, I believe it's a client ID and the case ID.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the resource that might spell out the fields would be the data guide. I don't have it open right now to confirm that.
Okay. So Alejandra, if you want to take a look at the data guide, search for foster youth, and that should give you some information. If you don't have the answer you need, you can submit a ticket and we can take a look at and give you that match. Next up, Nicole, Q1. We had a student in 8th grade last year who was enrolled from August 10th to October 11th with an exit reason of E140, truant and unknown. I think the secretary disenrolled him because he wasn't coming to school. Then we re-enrolled him on October 17th through 11/18 with an exit reason of T160. He enrolled in another school on November 28th per CALPADS. It is showing up as an exit reason discrepancy. My question is, shouldn't we have kept him enrolled until we had proof of him attending another school? Technically, yes. So there is a process for disenrolling a student with an E140, and that E140 is when there's been the student has been referred to SARB, or there's been a full independent investigation done by your district. In that means, in that time frame between the student not coming to school and that SARB or independent investigation happening, that student should have been accruing truancies instead of that E140 exit. So if there was a SARB done on that October 11th exit, then that E140 is true, and that's correct. Maria says, is question 1, there is a Monday Q&A? And there is, but it's from the SPED office. So it's very specific to special education. Highly recommend for you and or your SPED counterpart. And oh, Milo, thank you. So Milo put in the registration link on there, and that's at the 3:05 timestamp for anybody that wants to register for those special ed Q&As. Wendy from Slow COE, question 1. We have students who enrolled at our juvenile court school who have not attended a California school before. When they exit, many of them do not enroll anywhere. What is the most appropriate exit code to use for these students? Would it be the T168 where they're meant to go back to their respective
T168, yeah, they're referred back to their school and district of residence.
Oh, and Chrissy Spate from Fresno COE is saying that they use T168 as well. Awesome. Okay, Wendy, so T168. Micah, Q1. Can you please tell me if I can still use state course code of 6012? I was told it can be used, but cannot find it in the valid code combination documentation. I can tell you right off the bat that the ones that start with a 6, they're not valid. The valid codes they start off with the 7,000 through 89999 for CTE, and then after that it starts with a 9, so 9,000.
There's a couple with the 6 that we kept though. But isn't the 60, what did she say, 6019?
6012.
6012, wasn't that generic one from the old days, Angela? It's one that we had in Datagate. If it's not in the code set, you can't use it.
Yeah. So, Micah and Gary is pulling up the.
Trying. It's for some reason it's not coming up. It's right
Not
here,
letting you. Yeah.
but it won't pop up.
Well,
is that the downloaded one, Gary?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never answer.
I think
Oh, here's another one. Maybe this will come. Here we go.
there you go.
So if we get rid of all of the
Yeah.
date ones and we just filter for NAs, this are the remaining ones. And as Alex said, yours starts with this, except for the 1,000. It's all
Right.
starting with 7,000.
If you click on the down arrow though, Gary, would it? Yeah.
So I also know, I know that for Aries users, there is a specific state course code you can use so that it skips it and it doesn't include it in your CRSE. And I wonder if maybe that's the code. I don't know if there's any Aries users that can confirm that or deny that. That's Micah at 307 timestamp.
What did 6012 used to do? What was it a course code for?
Well, let's see here.
It was a common one that people used.
Oh,
Pulling up.
well, I'm not getting a match on it.
Well, so we have Lou and Roger from different districts, Lucia Mar and from Fairfield, and they're saying that it is an Aries code. So in Aries, if you use this code, it's going to ignore it so that it doesn't pick up that section in your course section extract. So it exists, but just locally in your SIS. Thanks for everybody that replied. We're going to move on to Tammy from Cottonwood. Q1, if the student's status is eligible not participating in CALPADS, and the previous district withdraws the student as withdraw 24, which is in SEIS exit reason 78, as the parent may have withdrawn to a private school or declined IFSP, and the new district has no idea the reason for the withdrawal 24. These students will not be on the SSID extract because of the status withdraw, but yet they are eligible not participating. How do districts capture these students, as we typically do not depend on the parents communicating to us their child in SPED? We typically use 78 withdraw in SEIS for parents that revoke SPED services.
So just really hi guys, sorry, I joined a little late. Apologies.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem. So just know that right now, this is a little bit of a deficiency in the way we collect the data. Okay, so one of the things that I would really advocate for all of you is to locally start tracking in some sort of note section whether or not that withdrawal was a result of parent revocation. Because here's what I know. Districts are using that withdrawal code for two different reasons. One, you're withdrawing because the parent explicitly revoked consent for special education and services, which meant the student was eligible, they had consented to services, but then they revoked that consent. Okay, so when that happens, you're using the withdrawal code. But additionally, what you guys are using it for is the exact scenario that was just pointed out. The student parents transferred them to a private school. They declined services through an ISP, but they did not specifically revoke. And unfortunately, given the exit reasons that we have available right now, there isn't another option. Okay, so I would strongly encourage all of you on the SPED side, if you are going to use that specific exit code of withdrawal, please comment, put some notes somewhere that indicate whether or not that is due to revocation. Okay. Next year, we will be adding explicit exit codes where we're going to be retiring 78, and we're adding 2 new codes, one explicitly for parent revocation, and another one that is cessation of service without revocation, which means you still have a responsibility for that student, right? So, but for right now, you should probably contact the district to ask whether or not it's an explicit revocation and to determine what your responsibility is under Child Find. And again, we don't want to give legal advice. So if you need to consult with your local legal counsel, please do so.
Thanks, Brandy.
No problem.
Moving on, Kara from Placer Stelpa, Q1. Did I just hear that correctly? The IEP overdue monitoring reports will not be available until December 12th. If so, there will be almost no time for districts to fix potentially incorrect dates in CALPADS prior to certifying. Yet they will be held accountable by the CDE SPED office for the data as of Census Day. She goes on to say, I do realize that we have time to update data through the amendment window, but my districts have been waiting and waiting to see what their data is in CALPADS regarding their overdue dates. I hate that I keep having to put them off, and they really want to have data corrected as soon as possible.
So from a compliance perspective, I mean, I understand that you're concerned because you're not able to see the overdue reports. And please keep in mind that the reports that are now slated for the 12th, is that what we said, the 12th? December 12th, are for late plan reviews and late reevaluations. The initial, late initials and late third birthday report will be coming shortly after that. From a compliance perspective, our FMTA teams recognize that you guys have not been able to actually look at those reports from a state point of view. You're able to make that distinction somewhat within your IEP systems, right? You have a general idea of students whose evaluations and reevaluations have been held late by looking directly in your IEP systems. But our FMTA teams are aware that you guys haven't been able to see this at a high level. With respect, and Joe Tanner, is Joe on? Do you know?
Yes, I'm here, Brandy.
Joe, the data that are used for that specific indicators 11 and 12, are those taken from Fall 1 certified data?
Yes, I believe they are.
Okay.
However, as you pointed out or alluded to, on a compliance perspective, we're not even giving up like the monthly reports that are slated supposedly for timeliness right now, due to the fact that we are consider about the SPED redesign and the monitoring reports coming out around December 12th, which is the ETA. And in addition to what you said, which is correct, I agree that the IEP systems or your SED systems are your primary systems for you to track all your compliance issues, specifically for the annuals and triennials. So just want to make sure that that we remind you that the SED systems is your system to actually track those, and it won't impede you from doing the tracking of your timeliness, as Brandy pointed out.
The other thing, Kara, that I would urge you to ask your districts to do is, remember, we provide you ODS extracts. Okay, so if you're interested in meeting records for students that are currently enrolled with you, you can actually download their most recent meetings from CALPAD, as long as you've got an enrollment for them. And it's not only meetings with your district, it's actually all meetings regardless of district. So if you want to get a jump on trying to identify potential incorrect meeting dates for students who have transferred in, use the ODS extracts. Okay, so the ODS extracts, you can download a list of meeting records for students that you currently have enrolled in your LEA. So I know that's not at a CELPA level, which is probably what would be most helpful to you, but your districts can certainly download those.
Okay. Moving on to Stephanie. Q1, we have about 160 planned 619F1 errors. I heard you say that CELPA approval is not required for the initial deadline, but recommended. My question is, what happens if we can't resolve all these errors by December 15th? So, although CELPA approval is not required by the initial deadline, LEA approval is required. So the only way that you're going to be able to approve is if you have 0 errors. Even just one fatal error will prevent you from certifying. So you absolutely need to get those planned 619 errors resolved. If you have questions about how to get those resolved or recommendations about what to look for, we're happy to help you. So just let us know. Fabiola, Q1. I missed last week's meeting where this question was going to be answered. Do we report staff assignments for teachers who teach SDC preschool? Flash 248 states LEA should not report, but does not specify if this applies to preschool SDC teachers. I believe the answer was no. No preschool teachers, regardless of what it is that they're teaching, don't report those to CALPADS. Eric, Q1. Last year, the SPED transactions contained the special education exit date for those who exited the program. This year, I do not see the date, but there is a transaction for the student with disability status. Is that the new way of exiting the SPED program? I should be attending the Monday Q&A. Yes, so that is the new way that you're going to see those students that are exited. You'll see a transaction, right? A new record in that SWIDS, that students with disability status container, that'll say not eligible or eligible but not participating. There will not be an actual exit date anymore. And those Monday Q&As are super helpful. Again, Mila posted that the registration link, so take a look at that. If you aren't attending, that's the way to do it. Teresa's, oh yeah, the 6012 is not reported in Aries. Shayna from Simi Valley says, Gary, I think your computer is cold based on the outside temperature displayed on your screen.
I just noticed that. It says it's 34 degrees and it's not 34 where I'm at, so I don't know where that's coming from.
Okay, Wendy, I see your Q2 and we'll circle back.
It's 61 there.
All right, so we got a lot of answers on that 6012. We're gonna move on to Miss Sandy Madrid. Q1 says, can you provide me with the link to the information related to a student temporarily not enrolled due to parental leave? I need to find the length of time that is allowed for this type of absence and other information related. Boy, that's an oldie but goodie. I think it's archived Flash 148.
Flash 148.
Yes. I don't know how I remember that, but I don't
You're
think
not
it's
going to
in
find it on their website. It's been archived.
We have it in our SharePoint. So Sandy, if you want to put in a ticket, oh, my AI bot came to the rescue. Thanks, Alex. So we have that link at the 313 timestamp, right? Underneath Sandy's comment or question. Right. Anne from Alameda is saying, Martha, I think it was a non-academic content.
Thank you. I think it's in the data guide too.
Okay. And Doug is saying about the 6012. We're going down now to Yadira, Q1. Can you please remind me which programs qualify students for a free and reduced status? Homeless? Foster?
Foster isn't a program. Well, I guess there's one that's tribal, yeah. And homeless, those are the only programs.
But homeless, I mean, foster as a program as a whole does make you categorically eligible. So foster, homeless, migrant, and tribal foster.
Okay. Migrant ed.
All right, Shelley from Hacienda La Puente, Q1. Which employment status category should we use for subs covering for a vacant position on Census Day? Temporary or other? I don't know if we have a preference.
I don't think that we do.
All right, so it's a local decision, Shelley, whatever your HR department tags them as, I suppose, or whoever handles that staff data. Syria, Q1. We cleared SENR 606 by updating the effective date on the plan record for some students. Does that mean we need to update the date on the SERV records for those students as well? I believe I saw a field on the SERV file that has an effective date as well. Yes, that is correct. The SERV and the plans have to have the same matching effective start date in order for CALPADS to know that those services are linked to that specific plan. That's the only way that CALPADS is going to make that connection is through that effective date. Sorry. Is there a fast way to do that?
Ask safe.
Okay, Eric, I see your question too. We'll circle back at 319. And Nicole's question too at 315. Ethan, Q1. Looks like the solution to a lot of our SENR 0606F1s is manually manipulating the plan extracts to change the SPED plan effective start date from the actual date to the student's first day of school. It would be a lot easier if we could just edit that date directly on the plan record via OM, but we currently cannot. Any chance you could make that change to make that an editable field via OM? I don't think so because it's an operational key, right?
Yeah. It is an operational key. I guess I would be curious though, Ethan, why it is that this is happening systematically from within your LEA. Is it an issue with your special education data system vendor? Is it a process? Is it like Welligent? Okay. Yeah, okay. So it sounds like this may be a larger issue with Welligent. So Ethan, one of the things, can you please summarize some of the issues that you're seeing specifically with the Welligent files that are being generated? Because what I want to do is I'm in direct communication with the developer with Welligent, and I want to communicate this to him because I want to get an idea. Oh, so Soraya, okay. So I want to give them an idea, and I want to get a sense from them how they're resolving this. So yeah, these are charter issues. So for those of you also who have not, there was a survey that was sent out to each of the independently reporting charters that are that use Welligent for LAUSD. And as of 2 days ago, only 10 out of 200 some odd charters responded to the survey.
Wow.
So if you have not responded to that survey, please do that, because some of these issues are things that we need to be able to communicate to the Welligent staff. If we don't know what's going on, and if there are larger systematic issues that need to be addressed within the way those files are being generated, we can only communicate with them if you guys tell us what they are. So complete the survey. You're also welcome to directly email the SPED data support email, or you can email me, and I will try and communicate with Welligent to see what their process is for that.
Shelly, I see your Q2. Oh,
is Sean on the call?
She was.
I'm here.
Oh, Sean, did you want to post the survey link in the chat?
Sure.
For those that are saying, hey, I didn't get forwarded the survey, but if you're with one of LAUSD's charters, please go in and complete the survey if you're familiar.
It's for their it's for their LEA admins, Brandy. So if you and Shiloh are good with us posting it there, then that's fine. You won't have a full I don't know what responses you'll get back.
I would say it's better than 10 responses. Is that a good answer? We're just trying to get a sense of what we should be communicating back to the vendor. And if we don't have enough data to kind of say, here's an assessment of the issues, But if we've got people on this call that are saying, these are my issues, how do I fix this? So I'm okay with it.
Okay, I'm pulling it up now and I'll post it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shelly, I see your Q2. We're gonna circle back to that. Richard says 29 degrees, snow on the ground, and people mowing lawn. I wasn't aware you could mow the lawn with snow. Okay, Susan, Q1. Does anyone know where I can get specific CRD C training? This is my first go at it. Thanks. I remember that. Best of luck. It is a beast. But I think they have their own website where they provide resources. If anybody on this call has the link to some resources for CRDC, please share that. That's Susan at 319. And then Angeles is saying, I've used other. I believe that's on that the question for the sub. Stella Q1. Hi, I have a student that had an assessment and was found to not be eligible again. It is not letting me send up my SEIS file because they already have a not eligible. How can I show that we held a meeting, or should I not send up the file to CALPADS? I believe you would send the meet record, but just not the SWIDs, not the status, because the status is still the same.
So I do know that currently there is an issue that, and I'm not sure who your vendor is, so if you want to just post it in the chat so I know who your vendor is. But if it is, and a couple of the vendors have this same issue. Oftentimes when kids are coming from out of state and they were previously enrolled in a California public school, okay, so it's safe. Then SEIS doesn't know that the student already is eligible, or if they're coming from a separate special education data system. So you have a kid coming from Cyrus and they're moving to a SEIS district. So SEIS doesn't know that the student already has a record in there. So it automatically generates it based on our rules. So it's generating this entire transaction and it's sending it up. And there isn't any way for you as an LEA to say, hey, in this case, I just don't want to send that status. I don't want to send that. I just want to send the meeting record. In this case, what I would recommend is that you manually add the meeting record in online maintenance in CALPAD.
At the 328 timestamp current posted, the Word doc of Flash 148. So Sandy, that is also available to you at 328. And then we move on. Teresa, Q1. With the known issue with the SSID request process, should we hold off using the SSID Match Tool until there is a fix? Angela, do you have a sense of...
I'm trying to think which one she's referring to. There was one where, but I think it's only one user that is experiencing it so far, that when they click on the match file button, it says this file does not exist.
Mm.
I did see that Teresa put in a ticket this week about the SSID match process. Did anybody on this call pick that up?
I mean, maybe, and it's all a blur of which tickets I've done.
We have had a skeleton crew this week, and we have got lots of things going on where staff are not in the office. So it's been a big blur this week.
Well, when did we announce? It was a listserv message or a flash to say start using the SSID Match Tool? And I don't know if Teresa, if you're going back that far, where we said, wait for us to get it fixed.
No, she was using the current one. I just glanced through her ticket, and found something where I think a kid didn't come back as a match, but I need
When
to
she
go.
expected it, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Teresa, if you have a problem number that you're referencing, if you could put that in the chat.
So we'll circle back unless she's, I can't see far back or if there was a reply. But I'll keep going, and then if we see the known issue number, we'll come back to that. Christine, Q1. Why would there be a meeting record under the student special education section, but no meet record under the meeting section? Is it possible that a meet record was missed during the CALPADS conversion? The meeting was held during the 21-22 school year, but that was the last meeting held before the student exited the district to attend a private school. Can this be remedied by CALPADS?
So we do know that the creation wasn't perfect. Let me just specify that. It did 99% of the job, but there were some specific cases where in really corner cases, there were records that were not created. This is one of those that why we provide you the online maintenance tool, right? So you can go in and manually add that record. Okay, so the meeting record doesn't exist, but guess what? You can go in and you can add that meeting record. And here's the kicker. Even if your district did not hold the meeting, you can add a record if you have an indication that a meeting was held for a student with the meeting date, and you don't have to have an overlapping enrollment for the student. So go into CALPADS, add the record manually if it wasn't created.
All right, so right below that at 3:33 timestamp, we have 3 different CRDC links. So that's from Kyron, Sinyun, and Lou. Thanks all for sharing your links. And 3:35 timestamp, we have the Google survey for IRCs that use Welligent. So please take a look at that for LAUSD IRCs. Next, we have Natasha says SSID Match just started returning only 100% match or no match and missing many. I don't know if that's a known issue yet.
It is not. So we would need a ticket with your job IDs, and if you have an example of the SSID you were expecting, that would be helpful.
She put it in there a little bit further down.
Teresa says I actually am working with Alex on a ticket with my issue. I'm so sorry, Teresa. It's just one of those weeks where I'm just answering tickets on autopilot, kind of. But I will take a look after the call and make sure that I haven't neglected your ticket. And my AI bot Alex is adding the ticket to my calendar. Thanks. And Natasha is saying I have a ticket in having problems with SSID match process. Okay. Asia Q1. Does CALPADS collect ELC candidate information? What report contains information on ELC candidate data? Does the data come from SENR? I don't know what ELC is. I mean, yeah, that's a good hint that it's not from CALPADS.
Oh, it's still the same thing it used to be.
Is it a CALPADS thing?
What is it?
Back in the day in Datagate, we used to send a file. The top 11% had transcripts sent to the Office of the President so they could be evaluated and then being determined that they're eligible to go to the UC system. Oh, top 9%. And so we used to, they would send us the data files, course file, and whatever else it was back in the day, and we would ship it to the University Office of the President, but we don't do that anymore. I think LEAs do it directly, and I don't even know that application still exists. I thought they did away with it and had something else in place.
Well, it's not collected in CALPAD.
Unless the ELC that Nate put up there is not the same thing that they were referring to.
Great. Well, let us know if that doesn't answer your question, if that's not what you're referring to when you say ELC. Let's see. Oh, here it is. The designation of any California high school student who completed a specific set of 11 UC approved courses before starting their senior year, and a UC calculated GPA that is equal to or greater than the top 9%. So no, not something that CALPADS does. CJ from Liberty Union is saying Aries has an extract. It is sent through the UC system platform. That's good to know. Nicole, I see your Q3. And I think that's all our Q1s. So I'm going to circle back, starting with Wendy at 312. Wendy from Slow COE Q2. Is there a way for our juvenile court school to avoid being stuck with a dropout for students who are truant at their school at their district school, end up at our JCS because they were arrested, then stay truant after being released from our GCS and don't go back to their district school? I think that's what 168 exit code was supposed to do, right?
Although being a DAS school, it helps, you know, if the kid isn't with you more than 30 days, less than 30 days, they don't get factored in. And there's a bunch of rules of who they include in their counts, right? Randy, isn't there specific rules?
Just remember DAS and the dashboard doesn't calculate dropout. It calculates graduate.
Yeah.
Right. So dropout reporting is something that's done federally, and then we have the annual dropout counts. And I think the answer to your question, unfortunately, is no. And we did begin to collect the T168, which basically means, hey, they've finished their time, their required time here at my LEA, or I'm an independent study program and I'm exiting them because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm sending them back. We started collecting that information in case the accountability office decided to consider that as a factor and when to attribute dropouts for purposes of data quest reporting and federal reporting. But they have not elected to do so.
Next Q2 is from Eric. Says, I am also having issues with SPED students from other districts that do not use SEIS, and the data is very hard to find. The parents do not share the history until we find some information and request them to provide any documentation. When we try to add the status as eligible not participating, we are experiencing 100% of the time an error with the initial start date. Where can I get more information on the proper code combinations and dates? The file submission scenarios that you created?
That potentially. But so what is the issue here is that they're not identifying students with disabilities, or the dates aren't aligning, is what I heard. Okay, so number one, SSID extract. Folks, I'm going to continue saying this until I'm blue in the face. You have to utilize the SSID extract on a regular basis. SPED coordinators, you need to work with your CALPADS administrators to determine how often they're submitting enrollments to CALPADS. If you have a CALPADS coordinator that says, I submit up enrollments every week and I do it every Friday. If they're doing that, ideally the SPED data coordinator could be given the role, and it's an SENR view role, to download the SSID extract. The SSID extract gives you a baseline set of information about all students that are currently enrolled as of the date that you're requesting that extract. So I go in there on Monday, it tells me all the kids that are enrolled as of Monday, and there's a column in there that says SWD indicator, yes, no. The kids that have a yes are kids that have information in CALPAD already about their active, and that they're on active IEPs, okay? So if you upload that list to SEIS or whatever other data system you're using, your SPED system can tell you which of those kids need a record. And what that tells you is that there's information in CALPADS that could inform those dates, so you don't have those issues. Okay, so the kids that need records, those are the kids you want to look up. You can look up manually, and you can look up the information from the prior district in CALPADS and use that to inform your creation of the record in SEIS when you're adopting the record. But you have to start with the SSID extract. That is going to help all of you avoid SENR0606F1, which is the bane of your existence right now. It's the bane of the service desk's existence right
Amen. All right, we're gonna move on to Q2. Nicole at 3:15 says, I missed this week's SPED Q&A. We have SENR0606 F1 errors for students who were enrolled with us before Census Day, but did not get their IEP adopted until October 11th. Is this why we are getting these errors? And then she says, currently under the Plans tab, there are only records from their previous LEAs, and we use SEIS. And that is correct, Nicole. So this SENR0606 is the old Cert 132. So if you remember Cert 132, this is the exact same deal, right? Student is coming with you with an active plan. You need to adopt their plan. And the change here is that the effective start date should represent the day the student started with your district, because this plan was still active. And so their plan was still in effect as of the first day that they started with you. So that will take care of that SENR0606. And then Nathan created a great YouTube video on how to resolve SENR0606. And he posted that link.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. Okay. I'm gonna be using that link a lot.
So Nathan to the rescue there. And Nicole, if after you've seen that video, if you still have questions, let us know. Shelly at 3:24, Q2. Marshall, would you please provide the chat and caption logs at the end of the meeting today? I came in late. Is Marshall still here? I think he left.
He gave the hosting to me. I'll do the caption. The what do you call that? The text. I'll just save and post it here.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. And then we move on to Q3 from Nicole at 3:43. We are getting an SENR0623 F1 error for a student who is homeschooled and mom wanted him evaluated. He is enrolled in a private school and awaiting evaluation. So there are no meeting or plan records yet. So I believe that this just means that you need to create or submit a meet record with an pending as of date. Right, Brandy? Is that?
That's correct. Right. So if they're pending initial evaluation, and I'm not sure what SPED system you use. So could you specify what special education data system you're on? SEIS. Okay. So if you're a SEIS user, what this means is for students pending initial evaluation, Nicole, you need to create meeting type 30, plan type 300. This will generate a pending record in CALPAD. as of the date of parental consent for evaluation. So you need to create that meeting type with that plan type, affirm it so it generates a transaction, get that sent up, and then you'll have a record that indicates the student was pending on information day.
Then we move on to Richard that says SSIDs every day since the beginning. Retiring soon. Good for you, Richard. Have a direct message from Padma. Padma, you're asking what report Brandy was talking about. She's talking about
SSID.
several. Oh, the SSID extract.
It's probably the SSID extract. Gary, show them what it is. I feel like a so-host.
Where to find it, right? Navigation wise.
So
If you log into CALPADS.
So this is from the CALPADS user manual. It gives you information about the extract, but within CALPADS, Gary, if you go into CALPADS, if you want to show them exactly how to navigate to it, and the extracts.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're almost there. You're there. You're moving.
Right
and
here.
then there's the
Yep.
extract. Yep, that's all it is. So to be clear, if you're a SPED data coordinator, you can't assume that you have this role. You should, because you should have the SENR, that's the Student Enrollment View role of attached share account. It's possible that you don't for whatever reason, but that's the only role you need in order to download this. So you actually, if you already have that role attached to your account, you can go in and download this for your district, for all schools within your district, and you can do it as often as you want. Okay, this is going to help you. If you create a process that utilizes this, it's going to help you identify kids as soon as they enroll in your district. This is the key.
I believe that those were all questions. If I've missed your question, please let me know. Type it in the chat box. Oh, and I think we have some questions in the Q&A. We don't monitor the Q&A in this Q&A.
It's the opposite in the SPED Q&A. So.
Just trying to keep you on your toes, folks. But I'm hoping that if for all the people that were using the Q&A portion of the Zoom, if we haven't answered your question, please put it in the chat box. I think some of these are duplicates. I think.
Looks like it.
Summer. All right, Q1. I have a Plan 620 F1. We submitted the meet file August 23rd, 2023, but the parent has refused to give consent. So we haven't sent in a plan file. What do we do if we can't provide a plan record? Plan 620. Oh, this is that you're missing eligible and participating status for a record, for a plan record. So this tells me that there is a plan, right?
Yep. So there is a plan record, but the student either doesn't have an SWDS record or the status is eligible, not participating or not eligible. So in this case, the plan record is in there. And that's what's generating this error because the student doesn't have a status indicating that they're on a plan. It has to be an eligible and participating status. So you should probably send in a ticket with the SSID so we can take a look at it.
Okay. And it says, sorry, I mixed that up. I got it now. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Anne from Alameda Unified says, for the SSID extract, you need to make sure you use a date range that goes back to the date when the eldest SSID was created. I use 7/1/2000, for example, to make sure all the students are included in the SSID extract. That's a great point, Anne. because the SSID created is looking at when the SSID was actually created in CALPADS, not when your LEA requested it. My recommendation personally is to use the other option, which is the date ranged by enrollment date. So that way you don't get kiddos from, you're making sure you're only getting students that are enrolled in your district within this academic year, for example. So you're ensuring you're getting all of your students and you're not missing any. Nicole. Hi, Nicole from Sylvan says, can someone tell me what to look for this error? Plan 619F1. Students with disabilities who are 5 years old and in kindergarten must have special education program setting code populated and not equal to 201. 201, 203, or 204. Right. So,
I'm agreeing.
Okay, thanks.
Well, no, well,
thanks for your support.
Well, we're waiting for Marshall to get at a conference. We got a video for this one too because it occurs so frequently. I think you guys will find it consistent that it's primarily or all TK and KN kids. Probably turned 5 over the summer. They're entering kindergarten, and so those two conditions are met, and those early childhood related special education program setting codes 201, 203, and 204 are triggering the error. They need to submit an amendment in most cases, a new plan record to resolve this error on the student's enrollment date. For some schools that start in August, there's a chance the students started TK at 4, then turned 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you would submit it on the latter of the two conditions. I think it's very similar to the 519 we had previously. So I'll dig up the flash. The logic or the reasoning's very similar, but
yeah,
it was 16768.
Yeah.
I think what confused me a bit is one of the program setting codes literally says kindergarten. And so if you don't look at the definition and where it will spell out not appropriate for students who turn 5, if you're just looking at the name of the code, the program setting code, you might think it should be valid.
Summer has a Q2. Says, I have an SENR0606F1. We submitted the meet file. Oh, it's the same. Oh, it was the 606 is the error that they were getting. So they submitted the meet parent
status. They're eligible and participating. That's the problem. So if the parent hasn't consented to the plan, the kid is not eligible and participating. All right. So the student status, until you have a signed plan from the parent, because I'm assuming this was an initial, you've held the initial meeting, parent has not yet consented. So they've consented to special education and services, but they haven't consented to the offer of FAPE. They haven't approved the offer of FAPE. If that's the case, then their status must be eligible, not participating. Okay, and then this error will go away. Because for students who are eligible, not participating as of census day, we don't expect the plan.
She goes on and says, we didn't have an eval this year. It was an annual. I think we may need to have a ticket with the SSID.
Yeah, that's weird. Because you shouldn't. Now, if the student transferred in and you didn't adopt the plan from the prior district, that's probably what's causing this. I guarantee that's probably it. Because whatever is from the other, okay, so you transferred it. Did you look in CALPADS to see if that record's in there, though? I mean, that's one of the things that I have been seeing. By the way, and this is a larger issue that I've got to talk to SEIS about. So what I'm hearing, and you on the service desk, you might be hearing the same thing, is LEAs are saying, we adopted the plan. We listed the district enrollment date. We adopted that plan. We generated the transaction. We sent the transaction up to CALPADS, but I'm getting these 606F1 errors. One of the things that's really important to understand is that SEIS enforces an order of operation, which means it sends up the files in that transaction in a specific order. And it will only allow the next file to go up if the first file gets posted and passes and has 0 errors, okay? And I believe that they're sending them up in the following order. And if someone from SEIS or knows the answer to this and I'm saying it incorrectly, please post it in the chat. So they send up meetings first. Okay, so you're sending up a meeting, they're sending up the meetings file, and once that comes back with 0 errors, then they will send up the status. That has to come back with 0 errors, then they'll send up the plan. So many of you are getting the 606F1 errors because you haven't cleared all those other errors in the other files because they're not sending it up yet, okay? So this, and it's something that I'm going to confirm with SEIS, but that order of operations is very, okay, so SWDS is first, meeting second, plan third, services last. Okay, so Judy's saying that's the order of operations. So if you've got errors on your SWDS, if you've got errors on your meeting records, that is going to prevent the plans from coming up, which is why we're seeing such a high number of, I'm theorizing, by the way, I haven't talked to SEIS yet, but I think that's what's happening. I honestly think that's what's happening. We're seeing such a high number of those errors because you're not even getting to the step where you can add the plan, right? So many of you are saying that you've done it, but the records haven't posted in CALPADS. So I'll be reaching out to SEIS to confirm.
In the meantime, Summer, if you want to put in a ticket with the SSID, put that under my name, Alex. I can take a look and figure out what's the missing link there. Eric. Oh, and by the way, folks, it is past 4 if you have other places to be. I won't be offended if you drop out of the call.
Okay,
oh, no, that did not apply to you, Randy. Just kidding.
I have to go. But if you can't answer any questions, please feel free to send in a ticket.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Eric says, this afternoon I contacted LAUSD about one of the students and they said their system does not require to have a signature. They have a checkbox that states they approved. Is that possible? I thought a wet or digital signature is required. And Randy just left, but Joe, are you still on, or Milo?
Yeah, Alex, I'm here. I think I'm not a lawyer though, so I might actually not say the right recommendation, but obviously a wet signature is highly recommended. As you know, IEPs are legal documents, but I also see some verbiage from citations and guidance that parental consent obviously is kind of a broad spectrum, right? It could be a written signature, could be verbal, and that's where I'm a little bit worried about giving guidance about wet signatures or signatures primarily, because parental consent could have been like other than a written consent. So please defer. I would rather defer this to legal.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, at 4:05 timestamp, Kyron posted the chat from this Q&A, so you can download that at the 4:05 timestamp. Kelly says, thank you. My AI bot will be offended on my behalf. It's a feature now. All right, that is it for today. Thank you so much. We'll be here next week, same time, same link. And have a great rest of your week.